I said get your black ass out of MI Hotel before I have you arrested for trespassing.
Christopher Vanderbilt didn't just snatch Naomi Bennett's platinum card from her fingers. He slammed it onto the marble reception desk, so hard the sound echoed through the 5-story atrium like a gunshot. His $800 Italian loafer came down next, grinding the $50,000 limit JP Morgan Reserve card into the polished stone with the deliberate malice of someone crushing an insect. "This is embarrassing for everyone," he announced to the lobby, his voice carrying the practiced projection of someone who'd learned authority at Yale and cruelty from privilege. "Whatever corner store you stole this from, take it back where you found it." Behind the mahogany desk, receptionist Ashley Morrison, blonde, 23, sorority president at Northwestern, covered her mouth to hide a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Should I call housekeeping? That card probably has street germs on it." Naomi's worn Converse sneakers didn't move. Her faded Howard University sweatshirt and ripped jeans had apparently triggered every elitist instinct these people possessed. The digital clock above the concierge desk glowed 11:51 p.m. in cold blue numbers. 9 minutes until everything changed. "Have you ever been called trash in a place where you held every key?" Naomi bent down slowly, deliberately, her movements controlled despite the humiliation burning in her chest. She picked up her trampled card, the raised platinum letters now scratched, one corner bent from Christopher's assault. She slid it into her canvas messenger bag without a word. "I have a reservation," she said quietly, placing her iPhone 15 Pro on the marble counter. The confirmation email glowed on the screen. Vanderbilt Grand Hotel, Imperial Suite 5001. Guest, Dr. Naomi Bennett. Total, for $1,800 per night x 7 nights equals $33,600. Christopher barely glanced at it. Anyone with Photoshop in 30 minutes can fake that garbage. "You think we're stupid?" Behind him, Ashley typed frantically on her desktop computer, her French manicured nails clicking like tiny hammers. "There is a Dr. Naomi Bennett in our system," she said slowly, looking up with narrowed eyes. "But that can't be right. The real Dr. Bennett would be." She gestured vaguely at Naomi's outfit, her hand tracing the air like she was outlining an invisible person. "Would be what?" Naomi asked, her voice steady as surgical steel. "Well, different," Ashley finished lamely. "Important. Professional. You know, someone who looks like they belong in a $4,800 per night suite." Christopher leaned across the counter, his cologne, something expensive and overpowering, invading Naomi's space. "Let me educate you, sweetheart. This is the Vanderbilt Grand. We host Saudi princes, Silicon Valley billionaires, and Hollywood A-listers. Look around." He gestured dramatically at the crystal chandeliers imported from Prague, the hand-carved Italian marble columns, the 24-karat gold leaf accents on the ceiling that cost more than most people's houses. "Now look at yourself. You're wearing sneakers that cost, what, $40? That sweatshirt has a hole in the sleeve. Your bag looks like it came from a yard sale." His voice dripped with theatrical contempt. "Nothing about you screams belongs here." Naomi checked her phone, 11:54 p.m. 6 minutes until her emergency board meeting with Vanderbilt property shareholders in London, Tokyo, and Dubai. 6 minutes until the vote on her proposed $1.2 billion acquisition of the Bellagio Las Vegas. 6 minutes until Christopher Vanderbilt learned exactly who owned the ground he stood on. The lobby atmosphere shifted as other guests became aware of the confrontation. An elderly white couple in evening wear, the woman dripping in diamonds, the man in a tuxedo, whispered behind gilded opera glasses. A tech executive in a $3,000 Brioni suit paused his conversation to watch. A young black woman in the leather lounge chairs, Jasmine Carter, discreetly angled her phone toward the desk. She opened TikTok Live, whispering urgently into her AirPods, "Y'all, I'm watching them racially profile a black woman at the Vanderbilt Grand in Manhattan right now. This is insane." The viewer count climbed, 67, 134, 289. Christopher turned back to Naomi, his confidence growing with each passing second and each new spectator. "I've worked in luxury hospitality for 12 years, 5 of them at this hotel specifically. I can identify fraudsters from across the lobby. The way you walk, the way you talk, that clearance rack outfit, it's all wrong." He pointed at her Converse. "Those shoes tell me everything I need to know. You take public transportation. You shop at discount stores. You've never set foot in a place like this except maybe to clean toilets." Ashley giggled from behind the computer. "Christopher, you're so bad. But not wrong though." Naomi opened her messenger bag slightly, revealing the corner of her first-class Emirates boarding pass, JFK to Dubai, departing 6 a.m., seat 1A. Next to it, the edge of her JP Morgan Reserve card, the one Christopher had destroyed. Beneath that, something else, the corner of a leather-bound document embossed with gold lettering. "I understand you're busy," Naomi said, her voice carrying the measured calm of someone who'd survived far worse than this. "But I genuinely need to check in. I have a critical business meeting in 6 minutes." Christopher's laugh was sharp and cruel. "A meeting? What kind of meeting happens at midnight? Let me guess, your shift at the 24-hour diner starts soon." He leaned closer, his breath smelling of expensive scotch and entitlement. "This isn't some holiday in where you can flash a stolen credit card and get a room. This is private property, my family's property to protect." Victoria Vanderbilt, Christopher's mother and the hotel's senior operations director, emerged from the executive offices wearing a cream-colored Chanel suit that cost more than a Honda Civic. At 58, she moved with the entitled grace of old Manhattan money, her pearl necklace alone worth $40,000. "Christopher, darling, what's all this commotion?" Her voice carried the refined diction of someone who'd never been told no in her entire life. "Mother, we have a situation." Christopher grabbed her arm, his voice loud enough to carry across the marble-floored lobby. "Someone's attempting to commit fraud with fake reservation documents and a stolen credit card." Victoria's eyes swept over Naomi from head to toe, a visual inventory that cataloged and dismissed in seconds. Her lip curled slightly as she took in the ripped jeans, the faded sweatshirt, the worn canvas bag. "I see." Victoria's tone suggested she'd encountered something unpleasant on the bottom of her Louboutin heels. "Young woman, I'm going to need to see multiple forms of identification, government-issued photo ID, a real credit card with your actual name, and proof that you have the financial means to afford our accommodations." The TikTok live viewer count hit 892. Comments flooded in. "This is 2025, and we're still doing this. Someone record everything. At Vanderbilt Hotels your staff is racist. Call the manager." "Oh wait," she is the manager's skull. "I'm sharing this everywhere." Naomi pulled out her New York driver's license. Victoria examined it like a Secret Service agent checking for counterfeits, holding it up to the chandelier light, running her finger over the hologram, even smelling it. "This could be fake," Victoria announced with the authority of someone who'd never been questioned. "Identity theft is rampant these days. Christopher, should we involve the authorities now or wait for security?" Christopher nodded sagely, pulling out his phone. "Good thinking, mother. Better safe than sorry." He began dialing with theatrical slowness. "NYPD. Yes, this is Christopher Vanderbilt calling from the Vanderbilt Grand Hotel on 5th Avenue. We have a suspected fraud-in-progress situation." The digital clock read 11:56 p.m. For minutes remaining, Naomi watched Christopher's performance, his exaggerated concern, his carefully projected authority. She noticed how he kept glancing at the other guests, making sure his power was on full display. This wasn't just discrimination. This was theater, entertainment, a public execution designed to remind everyone of their place in the social hierarchy. Ashley leaned over to Victoria, her stage whisper loud enough for half the lobby to hear. "Should I cancel the Imperial Suite reservation? Open it up for someone who actually belongs here." "Absolutely," Victoria replied. "No point holding prime real estate for someone who clearly obtained it through fraudulent means." Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from her executive assistant. "Board meeting starting in 4 minutes. London, Tokyo, and Dubai all connected. Are you ready? This vote determines everything." She looked up at Christopher, Victoria, and Ashley, 3 generations of Vanderbilt family employees standing with arms crossed like sentries guarding a castle. Behind them, Ashley's fingers were already typing, presumably canceling the reservation that represented 7 nights in the hotel's most exclusive suite. In the leather lounge, Jasmine's TikTok live had exploded to 2,400 viewers. The story was spreading beyond this lobby, beyond Manhattan, reaching viewers who were about to witness something unprecedented. "I'm ready," Naomi whispered to herself. 11:57 p.m. "Excuse me, but what the hell is happening here?" Everyone turned. A black man in his late 40s strode across the lobby, his custom Tom Ford suit and Rolex Presidential announcing wealth before he spoke a word. His briefcase bore the embossed logo of Goldman Sachs. Christopher's face darkened. "Sir, this is a private matter between hotel management and a potential." "A private matter?" The man laughed, gesturing at the crowd of onlookers and multiple phones recording. Half of Manhattan is about to watch this on social media. This is about as private as Times Square on New Year's Eve. He walked directly to Naomi, extending his hand. Marcus Williams, Investment Banking. I'm a guest here. Have been for the past week, Suite 4502. Whatever's happening, I'm a witness. Christopher tried to regain control. Mr. Williams, with all due respect, you don't understand the situation. This woman is attempting to defraud. What I understand, Marcus interrupted, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd closed billion-dollar deals, is that you've been harassing a black woman for, he checked his watch, at least 10 minutes based on nothing but her appearance. What I understand is that your assumptions are rooted purely in racial bias and classism. Victoria stepped forward, her Chanel suit rustling with indignation. Mr. Williams, surely you can appreciate that we have standards to maintain. This is the Vanderbilt Grand, not some budget motel. We have a responsibility to our legitimate guests. Your legitimate guests? Marcus's eyebrows shot up. You mean your white guests? Your guests who dress like they stepped out of a country club catalog. More hotel guests were gathering now, some uncomfortable but curious, others openly filming. A family with teenagers looked mortified. A couple in their 30s whispered urgently while their phones recorded every word. Ashley's computer suddenly chimed, an urgent email notification that made her gasp audibly. Christopher? Victoria? We have a situation. Not now, Ashley. Christopher snapped, still focused on Marcus. No, seriously. Ashley's voice had gone up an octave. I just got an alert from corporate headquarters. They're monitoring social media mentions of our hotel. They want an immediate report about any incidents involving, she swallowed hard, racial discrimination complaints. Victoria's perfect composure cracked slightly. That's impossible. How would they even know about tonight? Because it's trending, Jasmine called out from the lounge chairs, holding up her phone. TikTok, Live, Instagram, Twitter, everyone's talking about hashtag Vanderbilt Hotel Racism right now. You're viral, congratulations. Christopher snatched Ashley's computer screen toward him, his face draining of color as he read the corporate email. Urgent, social media crisis at Manhattan location. Reports of staff engaging in discriminatory behavior against black female guest. Viewer count exceeding 5,000 and climbing. Immediate explanation required. Board has been notified. Marcus pulled out his own phone, scrolling through Twitter. Let's see what people are saying. Vanderbilt hotels showing their true colors. Racist staff harassing black woman. Never staying at Vanderbilt properties again. Oh, this one's good. The way that manager is treating her, you'd think she owned the place. Ironic tweet, that one. Security Chief David Richardson emerged from the elevator bank. A 45-year-old former NYPD sergeant whose no-nonsense demeanor had earned respect from staff and guests alike. What's going on? I got an alert about a disturbance. Christopher immediately grabbed David's arm. David, thank God. We need you to escort this woman from the premises. She's been attempting to defraud the hotel with fake documentation and stolen credit cards. David looked at Naomi carefully. Something in her calm demeanor, her steady eye contact, made him pause. Ma'am, can you explain your side of the situation? Before you do anything, Officer Richardson, Naomi said quietly, reading his name tag, I'd strongly suggest you check the employee handbook. Section 19.7, specifically. David frowned. What does that have to do with? Just check it, please. Christopher rolled his eyes theatrically. She's trying to confuse you with legal mumbo-jumbo. Classic scammer tactic. They watch YouTube videos about hotel policies and think they can intimidate staff with fake legal knowledge. Victoria nodded agreement. David, just remove her. We'll deal with any complaints later. Right now, we need to protect our reputation and our genuine guests. David pulled out his phone, opening the employee handbook app that all Vanderbilt staff were required to maintain. His finger scrolled to section 19.7. As he read, his expression shifted from confusion to concern to something approaching panic. He looked up at Christopher, then Victoria, then back at Naomi. We need to talk, he said quietly. Right now? In private. The digital clock read 11:58 p.m. 2 minutes remaining. There's nothing to talk about privately, Christopher snapped. David, you work for me. I'm giving you a direct order. Remove this woman from the premises before I have you written up for insubordination. David's jaw tightened. Christopher, I think you should read section 19.7 before. I don't need to read anything. Christopher's voice echoed off the marble columns. I've been managing this property for 5 years. My family has owned this hotel chain for 3 generations. I know every policy, every protocol, every Your family doesn't own anything anymore, Naomi said quietly. The lobby fell silent. Excuse me. Victoria's voice could have frozen nitrogen. Naomi reached into her messenger bag and pulled out a leather portfolio, the kind that cost $2,000, and screamed serious business. She opened it slowly, methodically, like a lawyer presenting evidence to a jury. She placed a single document on the marble counter. The header read, Vanderbilt Properties International, Quarterly Performance Review, Q3 2025, Confidential. Christopher squinted at it. What is this? How do you have confidential corporate documents? Your quarterly performance report, Naomi replied, her voice never rising above conversational level. Manhattan location. Revenue down 31% year-over-year. Guest satisfaction rating, 2.1 out of 5 stars. Staff turnover, 94% annually, the highest in your entire portfolio. She pointed to specific lines on the report. Average occupancy rate, 58%. Industry standard for luxury hotels in Manhattan, 88%. Your property is failing every single measurable metric. Victoria reached for the document, but Naomi smoothly slid it out of reach. These are classified corporate reports. How did you obtain? Naomi placed a second document on the counter. A business card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, minimalist design. Dr. Naomi being an ETT founder and CEO Bennett Capital Group. Christopher stared at it like it was written in hieroglyphics. This doesn't mean. Let me help you understand, Naomi said, pulling out her iPad Pro. She swiped to a specific web page and turned the screen toward them. Vanderbilt Properties International, Corporate Leadership. The web page displayed a photo gallery of board members and executives. At the very top, in the largest photo frame, was Naomi's professional headshot. Same face, same woman, but wearing a tailored Armani power suit and $15,000 worth of jewelry. Dr. Naomi Bennett, chairman and majority SHA of our Bennett Capital Group, acquired Vanderbilt Properties International for $3.4 billion. September 1st, 2025 Dr. Bennett now controls 78% ownership stake in the luxury hotel empire, including 124 properties across 31 countries. The silence that followed was so complete you could hear the soft hum of the chandelier's electrical current. Then the lobby exploded. Jasmine's TikTok live chat detonated. She owns the hotel skull. I am screaming, Christopher is done. This is better than any movie. Plot twist of the century. Somebody call an ambulance for the Vanderbilts. The receipts. The viewer count exploded. Christopher's legs actually buckled. He grabbed the marble counter to steady himself, his knuckles white against the dark stone. You can't. This is impossible. I can't be what, Christopher? Naomi asked, her voice calm as still water. I can't be successful. I can't own a $3.4 billion company. I can't afford a $4,800 per night suite in my own hotel. She gestured at her Howard University sweatshirt and ripped jeans. Or do you mean I can't look like this and still be your boss's boss? Marcus Williams started slow clapping from across the lobby. In 20 years of investment banking, I have never seen a more spectacular own. This is legendary. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Ma'am, if we had known, there's no way we could have identified. You weren't wearing any indication that. I wasn't wearing what? Naomi interrupted gently. A sign that said billionaire? A crown? What exactly should successful black women wear to receive basic human decency in their own establishments? David stepped back, his hand moving instinctively to his security radio, not to call for backup, but because his training was screaming that he'd just witnessed a career-ending catastrophe for his supervisors. Ashley was frantically typing on her computer, pulling up Naomi's actual reservation. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! She looked up with tears streaming down her face, her mascara running in black rivers. The Imperial Suite reservation is real. It's been paid for 6 months in advance. The payment came from Bennett Capital Group corporate account, $201,600 for a 6-month extended stay. She turned to Christopher and Victoria, her voice breaking. I should have checked more carefully. I just assumed because I thought. You thought what, Ashley? Naomi asked, not unkindly. You thought black women in hoodies can't afford luxury? You thought wealth has a specific dress code? You thought your assumptions were more reliable than your actual computer system? Naomi pulled out another document. This one thicker, bound in leather, with official legal seals. This is the acquisition agreement. September 1st, 2025. Bennett Capital Group purchased Vanderbilt Properties International for $3.4 billion cash. We now own 124 properties in 31 countries, including this Manhattan flagship location. She pointed to Christopher's name tag. Christopher Vanderbilt, employee ID 10247. You work for me. She turned to Victoria. Victoria Vanderbilt, employee ID 10003. You work for me. She looked at Ashley. Ashley Morrison, employee ID 15982. You work for me. Christopher tried to straighten up, grasping for any remaining shred of dignity. Dr. Bennett, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. If you had just informed us of your identity when you arrived. The only misunderstanding, Christopher, was yours, Naomi interrupted. You saw a black woman in casual clothes and made conscious choices about how to treat me based solely on racist assumptions and classist prejudices. She checked her phone, 11:59 p.m. Before I take my board meeting in 60 seconds, let me explain why I'm really here tonight. Naomi pulled out a bound report from her portfolio, at least 200 pages thick, tabs marking different sections in rainbow colors. The cover read, Discrimination Audit, Vanderbilt, Grand Manhattan, August-November 2025, Urgent Board Review. 83 formal complaints in 4 months, Naomi announced, her voice carrying across the now-silent lobby. 83 guests who felt unwelcome, judged, discriminated against, or outright humiliated at this location specifically. She flipped to a tab section. The complaints break down as follows: 47 from Black guests, 21 from Latino guests, 12 from Asian guests, and 3 from Middle Eastern guests. Notice a pattern? Christopher's face had gone from red to white to a sickly green shade. Victoria stood frozen, her Chanel suit suddenly looking like a costume rather than armor. Naomi read directly from the report. Guest complaint number 23. Staff assumed I was a delivery person despite having a confirmed suite reservation. Made me wait 45 minutes while they verified I could afford the room. She flipped pages. Guest complaint number 47. Front desk agent asked if I was sure I had the right hotel. Suggested I might be more comfortable at a budget property downtown. Another page. Guest complaint number 61. Security followed me through the lobby for 10 minutes. When I complained, manager said I looked suspicious and didn't match their typical guest profile. Naomi looked up from the report. Shall I continue? I have 79 more. Marcus Williams shook his head in disgust. And you wondered why your occupancy rate is 58%? You're literally driving away paying customers because they don't look like your racist stereotypes of wealth. Naomi turned to Jasmine, who was still live streaming to now over 18,000 viewers. Young lady, what's your name? Jasmine Carter, ma'am. Jasmine, how long have you been recording? About 15 minutes now. It's all here. Every word they said, every action they took. Would you be willing to provide that footage to my legal team? Absolutely. Jasmine smiled. In fact, I've already downloaded and backed it up to 3 separate cloud services, just in case anyone tries to make it disappear. Naomi nodded approvingly. Smart woman. We should talk about a position in my corporate communications department. She turned back to the Vanderbilts. Christopher, Victoria, do you understand what you've done tonight? You didn't just humiliate a random guest. You publicly destroyed your own employer in front of 18,000 witnesses and counting. Her phone rang. The screen displayed, board meeting, London, Tokyo, Dubai. Naomi answered on speaker. Gentlemen, I'm in the middle of the discrimination audit I mentioned. Can you give me 5 minutes? A crisp British accent responded. Dr. Bennett, we're seeing the social media coverage in real time. The hashtag is trending globally. Are you all right? I'm fine, Lord Pemberton. In fact, I'm gathering even more evidence than expected. The systematic discrimination is worse than our initial investigation suggested. A Japanese accented voice joined. Dr. Bennett, Yamamoto Industries is prepared to pull our $200 million partnership if Vanderbilt Hotels cannot guarantee discrimination-free policies across all properties. Mr. Yamamoto, I appreciate your concern. That's precisely why I'm implementing comprehensive reforms tonight. I'll have a full action plan for our meeting. A third voice, Middle Eastern accent, deeply concerned. Dr. Bennett, Sheikh Al-Rashid here. Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund is watching this situation closely. Our investment is contingent on your company's values alignment with our diversity commitments. Understood, Your Excellency. The situation is being handled as we speak. Christopher looked like he might vomit. The board was listening. International investors were watching. And it was all being broadcast to nearly 20,000 people in real time. Naomi ended the call and looked at David. Officer Richardson, you started to say something about the employee handbook earlier. Would you mind reading section 19.7 aloud for everyone? David pulled out his phone, his voice steady as he read. Section 19.7, Immediate Termination Protocol. Any employee engaging in discriminatory behavior based on race, ethnicity, gender, religion, or perceived economic status faces immediate termination without severance pay, forfeiture of accrued benefits, and personal legal liability for damages to company reputation. Appeals must be filed within 24 hours with the executive board. He looked up at Christopher and Victoria. That last part is important. Appeals go to the executive board. And right now, the executive board chairman is standing right here. Ashley was openly crying now, her blonde hair falling across her face as she sobbed into her hands. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just following Christopher's lead. I thought I was supposed to support my supervisor. I never meant. Never meant what? Naomi asked, her voice not cruel but demanding honesty. Never meant to judge someone based on their clothes? Never meant to laugh at racist comments? Never meant to participate in systematic discrimination? She turned to address the entire lobby, the guests still watching, the staff who'd gathered from other departments, the security personnel standing at attention. This isn't about one bad apple, Naomi said clearly. This is about a culture that allowed 83 formal complaints to accumulate in 4 months. This is about management that never questioned why their guest satisfaction ratings were abysmal. This is about employees who felt empowered to humiliate paying customers because those customers didn't match their narrow definition of who deserves luxury. Victoria finally found her voice, though it came out small and frightened, nothing like the imperious tone from 20 minutes earlier. Dr. Bennett, the Vanderbilt family has operated hotels for 75 years. My grandfather opened this Manhattan location in 1950. This building represents our legacy. Your legacy, Naomi interrupted, is 83 discrimination complaints. Your legacy is 94% staff turnover because good employees don't want to work in toxic environments. Your legacy is 31% revenue decline because guests are choosing other hotels where they'll be treated with basic human dignity. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling an emergency meeting of all senior management. Everyone with director-level titles or higher needs to be in the executive boardroom in 30 minutes. Christopher's voice cracked like a teenager. Dr. Bennett, please. I have a family. I have a mortgage on my apartment in Tribeca. I have private school tuition for my kids. I didn't know who you were. You didn't know I was the owner, Naomi corrected. But you did know I was a human being who deserved respect. The fact that I own this company shouldn't change how you treat people. That's the entire problem. She checked her phone. 12 a.m. Midnight. Your 9 minutes are up, Naomi said quietly. Let's discuss what happens next. The TikTok live viewer count hit 25,000. The hashtag Vanderbilt Hotel Scandal was trending number 3 nationally. Major news outlets were requesting interviews. And in the executive boardroom upstairs, the future of 124 hotels in 31 countries was about to be decided. The executive boardroom on the hotel's top floor looked like something from a billionaire's fever dream. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Manhattan's glittering skyline. The conference table was carved from a single piece of Brazilian rosewood worth $80,000. 24 Herman Miller chairs surrounded it, each costing $1,500. Naomi stood at the head of the table, connecting her laptop to the 85-inch 8K display screen that dominated one wall. Christopher, Victoria, Ashley, and David filed in, followed by 6 other senior staff members who'd been roused from their homes. 3 department heads, the head of housekeeping, the food and beverage director, and the chief financial officer. Jasmine Carter sat in the back corner, still live streaming to 31,000 viewers. Naomi had explicitly invited her, telling security to ensure she had unrestricted access. Transparency, Naomi had said, is the first step toward accountability. Marcus Williams sat beside Jasmine, his Goldman Sachs briefcase open, already drafting what he suspected would be a Harvard Business School case study within weeks. Naomi's presentation appeared on the massive screen. The title slide read, Comprehensive Audit, Vanderbilt Grand Manhattan, Systemic Failure Analysis. Let me show you some numbers, Naomi began, her voice carrying the clinical precision of a surgeon explaining a terminal diagnosis. The tone wasn't aggressive or vengeful. It was the professional detachment of a CEO presenting quarterly earnings to shareholders who needed to understand exactly how badly their company was failing. Slide 1. Financial devastation. Manhattan location revenue. 2024 Q3, $48.2 million. 2025 Q3, $33.1 million. That's a decline of $15.1 million, or 31.3%, year over year. Christopher slumped in his chair. He'd seen some of these numbers in isolated reports, but seeing them compiled like this made the failure impossible to ignore. Guest satisfaction scores. 2024 to 3.8 out of 5 stars. Industry respectable. 2025 to 2.1 out of 5 stars. Among the bottom 5% of luxury hotels globally. Slide 2. The human cost. Staff turnover, 94% annually. The industry average for luxury hotels is 32%. You're burning through employees at 3 times the normal rate. She clicked to show a pie chart breaking down exit interview reasons. 45% cited toxic workplace culture. 28% cited management discrimination. 18% cited unethical practices. And 9% cited other. In plain English, Naomi said, nearly half your employees quit because working here was psychologically damaging. The food and beverage director, an older white man named Gerald Hutchins, raised his hand tentatively. Dr. Bennett, surely those numbers are somewhat inflated by. By what, Gerald? Naomi interrupted gently. By disgruntled employees with axes to grind? Let me show you something. Slide 3. Discrimination documentation. The screen filled with a spreadsheet, rows and rows of complaint data, each entry time-stamped, categorized, and color-coded by severity. 83 formal complaints in 4 months. Let's break down the patterns. She clicked through individual cases, reading them aloud like a prosecutor presenting evidence. Case number 12, October 3rd. Black male guest, surgeon visiting from Atlanta, questioned about room payment method 5 separate times during check-in despite presenting valid Amex Platinum card. Front desk staff allegedly said, "Are you sure you can afford this?" Guest checked out early, demanded full refund. Case number 28, October 17th. Latina businesswoman arriving from Miami, COO of a Fortune 500 company, mistaken for housekeeping staff by 3 separate employees. When she corrected them, manager allegedly said, "Well, you can't blame us for the confusion." Case number 45, November 2nd. Asian family celebrating wedding anniversary, told their children were too loud and disturbing other guests despite making less noise than white family in adjacent suite. Security called on them twice in one evening. Naomi paused, letting the weight of those stories settle on the room like toxic fog. Notice the pattern? These aren't random customer service failures. This is systematic discrimination that creates a hostile environment for anyone who doesn't fit Christopher and Victoria's narrow stereotype of what wealth looks like. Slide 4. Legal exposure. Now let's talk about the financial consequences of your bigotry. Naomi's voice remained calm, but the numbers on the screen screamed. Pending litigation. 7 federal discrimination lawsuits. Estimated damages $8.4 million. 12 threatened legal actions. Potential damages $4.2 million. Class action lawsuit. Information estimated damages $23 million. Total legal exposure $35.60 million. Christopher made a choking sound. Victoria's face had gone gray. The CFO, Martin Chun, was frantically typing on his laptop, trying to reconcile these numbers with his own projections. After tonight's performance, Naomi continued, clicking to the next slide. Broadcasted to over 31,000 witnesses and still climbing. Our legal exposure has increased exponentially. The screen showed a Twitter feed of legal professionals offering their services. Civil rights attorney here. I'm taking this case pro bono. DM me. Employment discrimination lawyer. This is textbook violation of Title VII. I've been waiting for a case this clear-cut. Vanderbilt Hotels about to pay. Slide 5. Brand destruction. Social media impact analysis. Updated in real time. The screen showed cascading hashtags. Hashtag Vanderbilt Hotel Scandal. 127,000 tweets. Trending number 2 nationally. Hashtag Boycott Vanderbilt. 89,000 tweets. Hashtag Racist Hotel. 64,000 tweets. TikTok videos. 412 and counting. Instagram posts. 1,847. YouTube reaction videos. 23. Published in last 2 hours. Our brand monitoring software estimates this scandal has reached 14.8 million people in the past hour alone. The damage to Vanderbilt Hotel's reputation is measured in hundreds of millions of dollars. She clicked to show booking cancellation data streaming in real time. Manhattan location. Cancellations in last 60 minutes, 47 reservations. Lost revenue, $318,000. Future bookings, next 30 days down 67%. Global portfolio. Cancellations across all properties, 312 reservations. Lost revenue, $2.1 million. Corporate accounts threatening to pull contracts, 18. Gerald Hutchins, the F&B director, looked genuinely horrified. This is catastrophic. How do we stop the bleeding? You can't stop it, Marcus Williams called out from the back. The video is already downloaded and backed up by thousands of people. This is permanent. The only question is whether you learn from it or let it destroy you completely. Slide 6. The hierarchy of failure. Naomi displayed the Vanderbilt Hotel's organizational chart, a pyramid showing the chain of command from front desk staff up through regional directors, VPs, and ultimately to the board of directors. Christopher Vanderbilt reports to Regional Director Margaret Foster, who reports to VP of East Coast Operations James Mitchell, who reports to Executive VP Sarah Chun, who reported to the previous ownership before my acquisition. She highlighted Christopher's position in red. When Christopher destroyed my credit card and called me trash, he wasn't just insulting a guest. He was publicly humiliating the chairman of the board in front of thousands of witnesses. Red highlighting spread up the organizational chart like blood through water. But Christopher's behavior wasn't created in a vacuum. He was enabled by a system that never questioned 83 discrimination complaints. He was protected by supervisors who prioritized family loyalty over guest satisfaction. He was empowered by a culture that valued appearance over actual customer data. Victoria finally spoke, her voice trembling. Dr. Bennett, the Vanderbilt family founded this company in 1950. My grandfather, Harrison Vanderbilt, built the first hotel with his own savings. This company is our legacy. Surely there's some way to preserve your legacy. Naomi interrupted, her voice cutting like surgical steel. Is 94% staff turnover. Your legacy is millions in discrimination lawsuits. Your legacy is systematically humiliating paying customers who didn't match your outdated stereotypes of wealth. She advanced to the next slide, a black and white photograph from 1950 showing the original Vanderbilt Hotel opening. The crowd was entirely white. The staff was entirely white. A small sign in the corner read, "Exclusive clientele only." Your grandfather's hotel had discriminatory policies that were legal in 1950, Naomi said. 75 years later, you're maintaining those same discriminatory practices, just without the explicit signs. Slide 7. Individual accountability. Let's discuss personal responsibility. The screen split into 4 panels, each showing an employee profile. Christopher Vanderbilt, Night Manager. Employee ID, 10247. Tenure, 5 years. Salary, $127,000 annually. Complaints filed against, 34, highest in company. Discrimination training, overdue by 14 months. Performance rating, 1.7 out of 5.0. Guest satisfaction for his shifts, 1.9 out of 5.0. Naomi read the data aloud like a judge reading charges. Christopher, in 5 years you've accumulated 34 formal complaints. That's averaging nearly 7 complaints per year, 1 every 8 weeks. Your guest satisfaction rating is the lowest of any manager in our global portfolio. Christopher's hands were shaking. Dr. Bennett, I can explain. There's nothing to explain. The data speaks for itself. She clicked to the next profile. Victoria Vanderbilt, Senior Operations Director. Employee ID, 10003. Tenure, 23 years. Salary, $185,000 annually. Complaints filed against, 28. Disciplinary actions, 12 documented instances. Failed diversity audits, 7 out of last 8. Department guest satisfaction, 2.3 out of 5.0. Victoria, you've been with this company for 23 years. You had 23 years to build an inclusive culture. Instead, you created an environment where your own son felt empowered to humiliate guests based on racist assumptions. Victoria's pearl necklace seemed to be choking her. We always maintain the highest standards of. Your standards, Naomi interrupted, resulted in 2.3-star guest satisfaction and millions in legal liability. Those aren't standards. That's systemic failure masquerading as tradition. Ashley Morrison, front desk receptionist. Employee ID 15982. Tenure 11 months. Salary $42,000 annually. Complaints filed against 8. Training completion rate 34%, should be 100%. Incidents of documented bias 11. Ashley, you're 23 years old. You've been here less than a year, and you already have 8 formal complaints. You participated in tonight's humiliation because you wanted to fit in with Christopher's toxic culture. Ashley sobbed openly, her face buried in her hands. David Richardson, Security Chief. Employee ID 11547. Tenure 6 years. Salary $78,000 annually. Complaints filed against 2. Intervention attempts documented 17. Discrimination reports filed 23. David, you're different. You questioned orders tonight. You suggested checking policies before acting. You filed 23 internal reports about discriminatory practices that your supervisors ignored. David looked up, surprised. Your personnel file shows you've been trying to fix this culture for years. You're exactly the kind of employee we need. Slide 8, the choice. The screen displayed 3 options, formatted like a game show. Option A, immediate resignation. Leave quietly tonight. Neutral employment reference. No admission of wrongdoing on record. NDA protects both parties. Option B, termination for cause. Dismissed immediately with documented cause. Discrimination incident on permanent record. No reference provided. Future employers will be informed of termination reason. Potential personal liability for brand damage. Option C, corporate investigation. Full HR review, 3 to 6 months. Media scrutiny. Legal depositions. Names permanently attached to scandal in public records. Possible criminal charges if evidence warrants. You have 60 seconds to choose, Naomi announced, checking her Cartier watch. The $45,000 timepiece she hadn't been wearing when she arrived, deliberately testing whether she'd be treated with dignity without obvious wealth signals. I have 123 other properties that need similar audits, and I don't have time for extended negotiations. The room fell deadly silent. Even Jasmine's TikTok live chat seemed to pause. 37,000 viewers holding their collective breath, waiting for the verdict. Christopher's voice came out strangled. What about the family legacy? What about the Vanderbilt name on the building? The Vanderbilt name, Naomi replied coolly, has been toxic to your brand for years. Our market research shows that 43% of potential guests actively avoid Vanderbilt properties due to reputation for discrimination and elitism. She clicked to a slide showing proposed rebranding. Bennett Luxury Collection, formerly Vanderbilt Hotels. Your family name will be retired from our portfolio within 6 months. The Manhattan flagship will become Bennett Grand Hotel. Your 75-year legacy ends tonight, not because I'm vindictive, but because it's a financial liability. Victoria gasped as if she'd been physically struck. You can't just erase 75 years of. I can, Naomi interrupted. I own 78% of this company. I can do whatever maximizes shareholder value and protects our guests. And right now, the Vanderbilt name represents discrimination, declining revenue, and legal liability. She looked at each person in the room. 60 seconds starts now. Christopher Vanderbilt, what is your choice? Christopher removed his name badge with trembling hands. The small piece of metal and plastic clattered onto the Brazilian rosewood table like a judge's gavel. I choose resignation. His voice was barely audible. Effective immediately. I'll surrender my building access, my corporate credit cards, everything. Just please. The neutral reference. My family. I need to be able to find work somewhere. Naomi nodded once. Her expression neither satisfied nor sympathetic. Just complete. Your resignation is accepted. HR will contact you about COBRA benefits and final paycheck. You have 30 minutes to collect personal belongings from your office. David will escort you. She turned to Victoria. Victoria Vanderbilt. Your choice. Victoria looked at her son, then at the data on the screen showing decades of accumulated failure. Her shoulders sagged, the imperious posture finally collapsing under the weight of accountability. Resignation, she whispered. I'll step down from all positions effective tonight. Accepted, Naomi said. Margaret Foster from our Boston property will assume senior operations director role by morning. You'll work with HR on transition documentation. Ashley Morrison's turn. The young woman could barely speak through her tears. Dr. Bennett, I want to learn. I want to do better. I don't want to be the person I was tonight. Please. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Naomi studied her for a long moment. Learning requires more than regret, Ashley. It requires acknowledging specifically what you did wrong. Can you do that? Ashley wiped her nose with the back of her hand, her expensive manicure smudged with mascara. I participated in humiliating you based on assumptions about your race and your appearance. I laughed when I should have spoken up. I chose to be part of the problem instead of part of the solution. I valued fitting in with toxic people more than I valued treating human beings with dignity. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the building's ventilation system. That's honest, Naomi acknowledged. Ashley Morrison, your employment is now probationary for 90 days. You'll undergo intensive retraining, unconscious bias recognition, cultural competency, luxury hospitality standards, and civil rights law basics. You'll report directly to our new Director of Inclusion, Dr. Amanda Foster, who starts Monday. Ashley's eyes widened. You're keeping me? I'm giving you a chance to prove you're worth keeping, Naomi corrected. 90 days. One more complaint, one more incident, one more display of bias. You're terminated immediately. Understood? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I won't let you down. Naomi turned to David Richardson. David, I'm promoting you to Director of Guest Relations and Security Integration, effective immediately. Salary increases to $145,000 annually, plus performance bonuses tied to guest satisfaction improvements. David blinked in surprise. Ma'am, I'm honored, but I'm not sure I'm qualified for. You filed 23 internal discrimination reports that your supervisors ignored, Naomi interrupted. You've attempted intervention 17 times. You questioned orders tonight instead of blindly following them. You're exactly who I need building the new culture here. She pulled out her phone and dialed, putting it on speaker. Dr. Foster? Naomi Bennett. I'm at the Manhattan property. I need you here first thing tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We're implementing the full transformation protocol. A warm, professional voice responded. I saw the videos, Dr. Bennett. I've already booked a flight. I'll be there at 5:45 a.m. with my full team. Excellent. Prepare for comprehensive cultural reconstruction. This property is our proof of concept for the entire portfolio. Naomi hung up and opened a new presentation on the screen. Immediate reform implementation. Vanderbilt, Grand Manhattan. Reform number 1, technology accountability. We're implementing the Guest Dignity Initiative, a mobile application I developed specifically for this purpose. She showed them the app interface on her phone. Every guest receives a welcome text with a QR code linking to this app. They can report discrimination instantly, anonymously if preferred. Reports bypass local management entirely and go straight to me, our legal team, and our external civil rights consultants. David leaned forward with interest. That eliminates any chance of local retaliation or suppression. Exactly. We're also installing audio recording security cameras in all public spaces, lobbies, restaurants, gyms, pools. Not to spy on employees, but to protect both guests and staff from false accusations. Marcus Williams spoke up from the back. That's brilliant crisis prevention. If everything's recorded, you get objective evidence instead of he said, she said disputes. Reform number 2, mandatory training overhaul. Every employee, front desk to executive suite, completes monthly training modules. The screen showed a curriculum. Unconscious bias recognition, 4 hours. Cultural competency in hospitality, 3 hours. Civil rights law for service workers, 2 hours. Bystander intervention techniques, 2 hours. Luxury service without discrimination, 3 hours. Training completion is tied directly to employment status. Miss a module, you're suspended without pay until it's completed. Fail a module twice, you're terminated. Gerald Hutchins raised his hand. What about senior staff who've been here for decades? Some of our people might resist. Then they can find employment elsewhere, Naomi said flatly. This isn't optional. This is the new standard for the entire Bennett Luxury Collection portfolio. Reform number 3, compensation tied to inclusion. Guest satisfaction scores now determine 40% of performance reviews and salary increases. But we're also tracking demographic satisfaction scores. She showed them a new dashboard. Overall guest satisfaction, 2.1 stars, current. White guest satisfaction, 3.4 stars. Black guest satisfaction, 1.2 stars. Latino guest satisfaction, 1.4 stars. Asian guest satisfaction, 1.7 stars. Notice the disparity? White guests rate their experience at 3.4 stars while black guests rate it at 1.2. That's a 2.2 star gap that represents systematic discrimination. She highlighted the metrics in red. Managers' bonuses are now tied to closing that gap. If your black guests don't rate their experience at least equal to your white guests, you don't get bonuses. Period. Martin Chun, the CFO, was nodding slowly. That's financially brilliant. It gives everyone skin in the game for creating inclusive experiences. Reform number 4, community oversight. We're partnering with local civil rights organizations to establish an external oversight board. The screen showed logos. NAACP New York Chapter, National Urban League, Asian American Legal Defense Fund, Lambda Legal, LGBTQ+ Rights, Disability Rights New York. Community leaders will conduct quarterly reviews of our practices, policies, and complaint resolution. They have authority to recommend terminations, policy changes, or legal action if we're failing to meet our commitments. Naomi pulled out a business card and handed it to Jasmine, who was still filming. This is Reverend Michael Thompson from the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem. He'll chair our Community Accountability Board. He's also a civil rights attorney who successfully sued 3 major hotel chains for discrimination. You're putting someone who sued hotels in charge of overseeing your hotel? Jasmine asked incredulously. Exactly. I want someone who won't tolerate bullshit and who has proven he'll hold us accountable. Reform number 5, financial consequences. Every discrimination complaint that's substantiated results in automatic financial consequences. The screen showed a penalty structure. Level 1, minor bias incident, $1,000 fine to employee, $5,000 donation to civil rights org. A level 2, significant discrimination, $5,000 fine to employee, $25,000 donation, mandatory retraining. Level 3, severe/repeated incidents, immediate termination, $10,000 fine, $100,000 donation, potential legal action. The fines come directly from employee paychecks or final severance. The donations go to organizations fighting discrimination. This creates immediate financial consequences for bias. David whistled softly. That's aggressive, but effective. Discrimination should be expensive, Naomi replied. Right now it's expensive for victims and profitable for perpetrators. We're reversing that equation. Reform number 6, Guest Bill of Rights. She displayed a beautifully designed placard. Bennett Luxury Collection, Guest Bill of Rights. 1. You have the right to be treated with dignity regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or appearance. 2. You have the right to immediate management intervention if you experience discrimination. 3. You have the right to full refund if your dignity is violated. 4. You have the right to report discrimination anonymously through our Guest Dignity app. 5. You have the right to see evidence of our corrective actions. These placards will be in every room, every elevator, every public space. Guests will know their rights before any incident occurs. Jasmine raised her hand from the back. Dr. Bennett, can I ask something? Of course. Why not just fire everyone and start fresh? Why go through all this reform effort? Naomi smiled slightly. Because mass termination doesn't address the system that created this culture. Christopher and Victoria are symptoms, not the disease. The disease is a hospitality industry that has tolerated discrimination for decades because wealthy bigots are profitable customers. She gestured at the data on the screen. We could fire everyone tonight and hire a completely new staff by next week. But if we don't change the underlying systems, policies, and incentives, we'd recreate the same toxic culture within months. Marcus Williams stood up, slow clapping. Dr. Bennett, I've consulted for Fortune 100 companies for 20 years. This is the most comprehensive discrimination reform protocol I've ever seen. This could be the model for the entire hospitality industry. That's the goal, Naomi said. We have 123 other properties implementing similar audits over the next 6 months. Every location will undergo this transformation. The hotels that resist will be sold off. She pulled up a map showing Vanderbilt/Bennett properties across the globe, each marked with a colored indicating audit status. Red dots, critical discrimination issues, 23 properties. Yellow dots, moderate concerns, 47 properties. Green dots, acceptable standards, 53 properties. Manhattan was red, one of our worst locations. By the time we're finished, every property will be green or we'll sell it to someone else. Reform number 7, Victim Compensation Fund. Finally, we're establishing a $50 million compensation fund for past discrimination victims. The number appeared on the screen in large, bold letters. Every person who filed a complaint in the past 5 years will receive financial compensation. The amount varies based on severity, but minimum payout is $25,000. We're also offering public apologies, policy change consultations, and lifetime complimentary stays. Martin Chun, the CFO, looked pained. $50 million is significant capital allocation. It's cheaper than the lawsuits, Naomi replied. And more importantly, it's the right thing to do. These people were harmed by our employees in our hotels. We owe them restitution. She closed her laptop and looked around the boardroom. Christopher and Victoria had already been escorted out by David. Their badges and access cards surrendered. Their decades of family legacy ended in a single night. To everyone remaining, welcome to the Bennett Luxury Collection. We're building something better. 6 months later, the newly renamed Bennett Grand Hotel Manhattan gleamed under morning sunshine. The massive bronze letters spelling Vanderbilt had been removed from the building's facade, replaced with elegant script, Bennett Grand, a luxury collection hotel. Naomi stood in the lobby, the same marble floor where Christopher had ground her credit card under his heel half a year ago. But everything else had changed. The front desk staff reflected the diversity of New York itself. Black, white, Latino, Asian, LGBTQ+ pride pins worn openly. Ashley Morrison stood at the first station, her supervisor badge gleaming, greeting an elderly black couple with genuine warmth. Welcome to Bennett Grand. We're so honored to have you. Let me get you checked in immediately. And I see you're celebrating your 50th wedding anniversary? Congratulations. I've upgraded you to a suite with Central Park views, complimentary champagne, and our concierge will arrange anything you need. The couple beamed. The husband whispered to Naomi as she passed, "This is the first luxury hotel where we've felt actually welcome." "Thank you." David Richardson, now Director of Guest Relations, approached with a tablet. "Dr. Bennett, the latest metrics just came in." He showed her the dashboard. Bennett Grand Manhattan, 6-month transformation results. A guest satisfaction, 4.8 out of 5 stars, up from 2.1. Black guest satisfaction, 4.9 out of 5 stars, up from 1.2. Staff turnover, 12% annually, down from 94%. Revenue, $61.4 million quarterly, up from $33.1 million. Discrimination complaints, 0, down from 83 in previous 4 months. Waitlist for employment applications, 2,847 people. We're now the highest-rated luxury hotel in Manhattan, David said with pride. And we're profitable again, 37% revenue increase in 6 months. Naomi smiled, scrolling through guest reviews on her phone. Finally, a luxury hotel where my blackness wasn't treated like a problem to be solved. The staff made my disabled daughter feel like a princess, not an inconvenience. As a gay couple, we've stayed at dozens of luxury properties. This is the first where we felt we could just exist without judgment. The Bennett transformation is real. This is what hospitality should be. A familiar face entered the lobby, Jasmine Carter, now wearing a Bennett Grand employee badge that read, Social Media Director. Dr. Bennett, the Harvard Business School case study just published. The Bennett transformation, how one night of accountability reformed an entire industry. It's already assigned reading in 12 MBA programs. She pulled out her phone, showing the academic paper's abstract. Dr. Naomi Bennett's systematic approach to dismantling discriminatory hospitality practices represents a paradigm shift in corporate accountability. By combining technological transparency, financial consequences, community oversight, and genuine cultural transformation, Bennett Capital Group achieved what many considered impossible: profitable luxury hospitality that serves all customers with equal dignity. Marcus Williams entered through the revolving doors, his Goldman Sachs briefcase in hand. "Dr. Bennett, I'm here for the quarterly oversight board meeting. Reverend Thompson is already upstairs." They rode the elevator together to the executive boardroom where the Community Accountability Board was assembling. Reverend Michael Thompson, representatives from the NAACP, Urban League, disability rights advocates, and LGBTQ+ organizations. Reverend Thompson shook Naomi's hand firmly. "Dr. Bennett, I've reviewed this quarter's complaint data, employee training completion rates, and demographic satisfaction metrics. I'm prepared to certify that Bennett Grand Manhattan meets all our civil rights standards for the 3rd consecutive quarter." "Any areas of concern?" Naomi asked. "Just one small note. Your luxury spa had a complaint about wheelchair accessibility in one treatment room. But I see you've already ordered renovations to address it before we even raised the issue." "We take every complaint seriously," Naomi replied. That guest deserved better. She's getting a lifetime complimentary spa membership and consulted on our accessibility redesign. The meeting concluded with unanimous approval. Bennett Grand Manhattan was officially certified as a model for inclusive luxury hospitality. As Naomi prepared to leave, she stopped at a small bronze plaque installed near the front desk, right where Christopher had destroyed her credit card, in recognition of the dignity owed to every guest. Installed December 18, 2025. Luxury without dignity is just expensive discrimination. Dr. Naomi Bennett, founder. Ashley approached, carrying a coffee service. Dr. Bennett, your usual cappuccino. And I wanted you to know, I completed my master certification in inclusive hospitality last week. Top of my class. I'm proud of you, Ashley. You chose growth over defensiveness. I chose not to be the person I was that night, Ashley corrected. Best decision I ever made. Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from her executive assistant. Bellagio Las Vegas acquisition finalized. $1.2 billion deal closed. Board voted unanimously in favor. Your transformation model was the deciding factor. Investors want more Bennett properties, not fewer. She smiled, looking around the transformed lobby. 6 months ago, she'd been called trash in this space, her dignity assaulted, her success questioned. Today, she'd built something better, something sustainable, something that proved luxury and justice weren't mutually exclusive. The Bennett transformation had begun with one night of accountability. It would ripple through the entire hospitality industry for decades to come. Naomi stood in front of the camera Jasmine had set up, recording her final message directly to viewers. Discrimination still happens every single day, in hotels, restaurants, stores, boardrooms, and spaces where we should all feel welcome. But change is possible when we choose accountability over defensiveness, transparency over cover-ups, and justice over convenience. She gestured around the transformed lobby. 6 months ago, this hotel represented everything wrong with luxury hospitality. Today, it's proof that you can be both profitable and principled, both successful and just. If you've experienced discrimination, share your story in the comments. Tag businesses that need reform. Hold companies accountable. Subscribe for more transformation stories, because your voice matters. Your experience matters. Your dignity is non-negotiable. She pulled up the final statistics on the screen behind her. 124 Bennett properties transformed. 0 discrimination complaints across entire portfolio. 34% average revenue increase system-wide. 12 other hotel chains implementing similar reforms. $50 million compensation fund. 847 victims compensated. The Bennett transformation proved systematic change isn't just possible, it's profitable. One courageous choice at a time. Subscribe to Blacktail Stories for more victories like this. Remember, you never know who you're disrespecting. They might own everything you see.